working with the business manager and overseeing the budget. And most of the items that we've discussed as being completed, the multi-year budget. Of course, David and the business manager also have to administer the budget.
Managing the budget,
Manage
which
the
is
budget.
well beyond.
Correct, which is well beyond what the
establishing
school
a budget.
committee, right. Also, as we mentioned, the technology plan, also under strategic planning, has been submitted to the Department of Education as required. This is the technology portion of strategy, curriculum, and technology. David works closely with the curriculum director, Pam Bodwin, on all of these issues. Everything. Also under strategic planning is to continue to promote partnerships with schools outside the U.S. As you heard Kelly McQuillan say, the exchange program to Mexico was held this year, and students recently returned to Mexico. We also have, we work with Teradyne and working with a school in the Philippines. We're looking at a Chinese study program, which Dr. Troten mentioned, and also plans for a potential China exchange program. As the most populous country in the world, I think it's important that our students be very aware of what's going on in China and speak the language someday. That's right. Talk about curriculum and instructional programs, and implement programs and practices which improve curriculum and instructional programs and student performance. These are some of the things we talked about earlier: report cards, reviewing report cards, funding for building-based curriculum leadership.
Most of these needs funding.
Right. And funding related.
You know, I just think that these speak to the superintendent's goals and what he'd like to see for the district in there. They can't happen if we don't have funding.
Right.
Review of full-day kindergarten. That's been a goal of the superintendent for years, and it's one thing we haven't been able to fund.
Right, non-tuition based full-day
Right.
kindergarten.
So there's a lot here that we've actually, because of lack of funding, we've lost the momentum.
But in spite of that, we have implemented full-day kindergarten.
Right.
What, 4 or 5 years now?
Right.
And increased it progressively
Right.
each year. And also within that, established a pretty focused special education program for bringing back children who would be educated outside of North Reading. So that can only be accomplished within the context of that full-day kindergarten program. So that's the kind of thinking that, you know, I mean, you work with what you have.
Right.
But you have some ideas that would take us further, and I think, you know, they get buried in some of these ideas. The funding for building-based curriculum leadership, you know, we had the top.
I think that, you know, despite what some people in town think that, what have I read that?
We just do whatever he
we have
says,
he has the
snaps
school
fingers.
committee under his thumb. I contest that.
One person says that stuff.
But we do have a good relationship. It's a good back and
Yes.
forth relationship. It's the kind of relationship that it should be.
Yes.
We don't agree with him on everything.
It's respectful,
It's
but
res-
it's very open.
And it's
and
productive.
Productive,
It's a
yes.
very productive relationship, and I think that's what is the most important goal here, is the relationship needs to be productive. You can't sit here every meeting and argue about everything because you make no progress. And I think we have a very good, as someone who's been here 19 years, I think you could comment on the relationship.
We've had 2 excellent superintendents over those 19 years, and I'm going to share a little anecdote here. Because I think it's important that people understand this. There's an exercise to help people understand their learning styles, and, among other things. And my wife got to participate in this. She watched a video, and at the end of the video, she was supposed to be able to report, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was more or less, how many times did a player in a white basketball jersey pass the basketball to a player in a red jersey? And at the end of the video, the people over, and these were all employees at Harvard University, were offering different numbers, and suddenly one of the people said, well, it was hard to concentrate because of the man in the gorilla suit. And my wife said, what man? And her first thought was that this was a plant in the audience to try to get people to think there had been a gorilla in the video. And after they argued about this for a considerable length of time, they replayed the video, and not only was there a gorilla there, but it was very conspicuous. He
Right.
was passing in and out of the activity. There are some people who, when you ask them to focus on a particular task, will not see that gorilla. And it's very hard for those of us who do see the gorilla to understand, A, that they don't see it or that they can't see it. David didn't see the gorilla. And I think that this is at the root of some of the criticisms that I've sometimes heard. People who have been involved with David in a working situation don't understand that he's focused on a task. And if he doesn't see the gorilla, they don't believe it. And that's been a problem. And I have found myself at times looking for a way to explain that David is very much on task and very much committed to our children and our schools. And no, he doesn't always see the gorilla. And I think it's important that I share
Could you give
that.
a more real-world example rather than a gorilla?
Well, the gorilla is the example in the,
Well, yes,
in the
but I mean,
video.
you know,
But, you know, you could be sitting, talking about a budget issue, and maybe somebody was thinking about, you know, why doesn't David come out and say that there's going to be phys ed if we get the override, but there's something else that David is focused on.
I can't imagine anybody would question him on that. I mean, who would question him on that?
Inquiring minds want to know.
And it's not that David is trying to ignore another issue, there's something that he's focused on.
We'll
And
leave that one alone.
it's important to recognize that different people come at problems in different ways. And we all have our blind spots. Maybe we see the gorilla, but we don't see what the gorilla is holding. Or maybe
we don't see basketball players.
Huh? You know,
Because we're too busy watching the gorilla.
we all have our blind spots, and it's important to recognize that and not to assume that someone else sees everything that we do. It doesn't work that way. Life isn't like that.
Cliff, get out while you can.
It's very crucial not only to listen, but when you're not hearing what you expect, to ask. What about? And the answers are always forthcoming.
And I think it's, as I said, it's been a.
Yes, no, wait a minute. I've
It's-
really kind of followed up to that point.
It's been, but it's been a productive, respectful,
It has been extremely
open
productive.
relationship between the superintendent and the school
Extremely
committee
productive.
since I've been on board.
We have been blessed over the 19 years I've served with two superintendents who were completely committed to the well-being and education of our children. And you can't ask for anything more. They've been committed and they've been effective. And North Reading has one of the better school systems, in spite of the limited funding,
Exactly.
anywhere in the country.
Next.
Hey, you know, let me add this too, while we're at it. In all seriousness, people don't see this all the time, but and this is not as relevant as what Steve just said. But David puts in about 80 hours, 80 real
No
hours a
question.
week. I mean, I'm not
At
exaggerating.
least.
He
Every
really
night.
does.
I've seen his
He
date
really
book.
does.
Yes.
And it's amazing that you continue with that kind of energy and that kind of commitment. I mean, and time always isn't a good, gauge of
Right.
what you're trying to accomplish or what you're doing. But it's something that I respect. When you're putting in 80 hours a week,
Yes.
it's 80 hours a week.
It's
And
certainly.
a lot of people don't realize.
It's certainly
They
a
don't.
measure of one's dedication.
Yeah.
And his sidekick
Either that or
was
he
in
doesn't
quite
wanna
a,
go home. No, I don't know.
Jerry, his sidekick was in quite a few hours too,
Of course
Mr.
he wants to
Nelson.
go
We have a
home, he
good,
has a grandbaby to talk about.
But that's a
Right.
fact.
Pictures of
That
it.
is a fact.
we have a good administrative staff. Promote a positive image in North Reading Public Schools. I think we've done a good job of that, and I think Jerry's point that where we sit in terms of test scores, et cetera, as compared to what we spend, speaks volumes. It's a little sketchy right now in terms of trying to maintain that level of success, but I think it speaks volumes as to the superintendents we've had in this district over the last 19 years, as Steve says. Keep staff informed on and to encourage active involvement of staff in school-related issues. I know David regularly visits schools, meets with staff, meets with administrators. That's part of his job. He does have a lot of goals.
Well, you know what,
But he
the goals,
works.
they don't know, a lot of the responsibilities.
Right, the responsibilities are in the
Responsibilities
job
of the
description.
superintendent, yeah.
Job description. Maintain an open relationship with all employee associations. He does the same thing there, regular meetings, and as we discussed earlier, right now, we're involved in negotiations with several of those employee associations. All except the teachers, which will be next year. Continue to support the administrative council, the leadership team, regular meetings and discussions and plans and processes, and to maintain an open relationship with students. David's actively involved with the high school student representatives, and meets with them every other week, David. And as I said, it's constantly in one of the schools during the daytime when he has the time. Maintain an open relationship with parents. There's tremendous communication between David and the parents. Now that we have that Alert Now system, he can get access to us anytime he wants. We have the Parents Advisory Council that he's involved with. We did discuss at one point, and I think this gets back to the forums we talked about earlier, open house with superintendent and the admin council, administration council. I think we can do that maybe on a once or twice a year basis on some other subjects besides the budget. So you have people there talking maybe about some specific education programs as opposed to where we're gonna get the money to do all this stuff. Talk about what are some things the community
Good idea.
might wanna see and.
Especially in the area of like, special needs and things like that.
Exactly.
You know, have
Chris Donju there, or have Pam,
Curriculum with
right, Pam, curriculum and technology. I think you get some people, of course, we do know that the budget generates the most interest, so you're not so sure how many people we might get to those forums, but I think it's worth a try.
Well, if people don't show up, she'll cut the bus.
There you go, we'll cut the budget. Support the policy. We talked about this earlier, and I think we need to look at how the policies are set. But David's objective is to support the committee in the process of systematic policy review. And that usually means he goes through one part of the policy manual and says, we need to look at all these and make sure we're up to date on these, and that's what the policy review is. And then develop and implement student-centered policies that are consistent with education reform, and we discussed that earlier also, in terms of policy. Professional development, does that come under policy, or is that a separate? This is his active.
Instead of
Do this
budget.
because each year you have to, every 5 years I need to get recertified, so I
Mhm.
need to
Stay
demonstrate
current,
that I'm
yep.
doing these things.
And as Nicole alluded to earlier, David participates in numerous professional development programs on a regular basis. Better continuous professional work and education. Does that include the teaching that you do, and what do
I
you?
chair the DOE, well, it's got a new name now, Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, the Technology, Education Technology Advisory Committee to the Board of Education.
You're also, were you teaching an online
Oh, I
course?
still
I should take that. What's the course on?
Curriculum.
Then I could evaluate the professor of the course.
Yeah, but he gets to grade you.
He holds the trump card. Then finally, he's maintained currency of knowledge through professional reading, and David reads everything from educational leadership to school. He reads books also, yes.
I read one of
book study
these.
groups.
Yeah, I do too.
Oh, I read American School Board Journal faithfully.
There's a recent article in a publication that's geared toward higher education.